Admiral Zektar stood before the massive viewing screen in his command ship. The blue planet called Earth floated in the darkness of space like a precious jewel. For 3 months, his scout ships had watched this world and the creatures that lived on it. Now he had all the information he needed. The humans were weak, very weak. Zektar walked to the data console and pulled up the reports. The humans had only a few ships in space, and those ships were made of simple metal. They used old chemical rockets to move around their solar system. Their weapons were basic projectiles that threw metal pieces at targets. No energy shields, no faster-than-light engines for fighting. No unified defense system protecting their planet. It was almost sad how primitive they were. The Admiral turned to his communications officer. "Send the final report to the Galactic Council. Tell them Earth is ready for conquest." 3 days later, Zektar stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council on the planet Nexus Prime. Representatives from dozens of alien species filled the chamber. The Valian Empire, the Korthan Republic, the Silicate Consortium, all the major powers of the galaxy were here. Council leader Threnx called for order. Admiral Zektar will now present his findings on the human species. Zektar activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared above the council floor. Honored representatives, after extensive observation, I can confirm that the humans pose no military threat to the hegemony. Murmurs filled the chamber. Several council members looked surprised. Their space fleet consists of fewer than 50 vessels, Zektar continued. These ships are built with primitive materials and powered by chemical combustion. Their largest warship carries weapons that would barely scratch the hull of our smallest patrol craft. The hologram showed images of human spacecraft, bulky, angular ships with visible exhaust ports and crude antenna arrays. Furthermore, Zektar said, the humans have no planetary defense grid, no orbital weapons platforms, no shield generators protecting their world. Their military forces are divided among multiple nation-states that often fight each other. Council leader Threnx leaned forward. What about their technology level? Have they achieved faster than light travel? Limited, Zektar replied. They have one experimental ship that can barely reach half-light speed. Their communication systems still rely on electromagnetic radiation. They have no quantum entanglement networks or hyperspace transmitters. A reptilian delegate from the Korthan Republic raised a clawed hand. What strategic value does this world offer? Zektar smiled. Earth sits at the intersection of 3 major hyperspace routes. Its solar system contains significant deposits of rare elements, particularly in the asteroid belt. The planet itself has abundant water and a diverse ecosystem suitable for agricultural development. The council members exchanged glances. A world with such valuable resources, defended by such a weak species, was too good to pass up. Council leader Threnx called for a vote. All in favor of immediate annexation of the human homeworld. Every hand in the chamber rose. Opposed? Silence. The motion carries unanimously. Admiral Zektar, you are authorized to deploy 3 battle fleets for the conquest of Earth. Resistance is expected to be minimal. Zektar bowed. It will be done within 1 standard week, Council leader. As the council session ended, Zektar felt satisfaction wash over him. This would be the easiest conquest in hegemony history. The humans would surrender quickly once they saw the power arrayed against them. Soon, Earth would be just another world in the ever-expanding galactic empire. Meanwhile, on Earth, strange things were happening in quiet places. Dr. Sarah Chen sat at her workstation in the Arecibo Observatory, staring at readings that made no sense. For the past week, her instruments had detected gravitational anomalies at the edge of the solar system. The patterns were too regular to be natural phenomena. She picked up her secure phone and dialed a number in Washington. General Morrison? This is Dr. Chen. You need to see these readings immediately. What? Across the world, Amateur radio operators reported unusual signals in frequencies that should have been empty. The signals lasted only seconds at a time, but they came from locations far beyond Earth's orbit. In a bunker beneath the Pentagon, General Morrison studied Dr. Chen's data with growing concern. The gravitational distortions were consistent with massive objects dropping out of hyperspace, technology that officially didn't exist in human possession. "How long do we have?" Morrison asked the assembled military leaders. Dr. Chen shook her head. "Based on the acceleration patterns, whatever's out there could reach Earth in 72 hours. Morrison turned to the wall screen showing a map of the solar system. Red dots marked the locations where the anomalies had been detected. "Send the activation codes to all deep space monitoring stations. It's time to wake up the watchers." Far from Earth, in the cold darkness between planets, objects that had drifted silent for decades began to stir. What looked like asteroids and space debris started broadcasting coded signals on hidden frequencies. Automated systems that had waited patiently for this moment came online. The waiting was over. As Admiral Zektar prepared his fleets for what he believed would be a simple conquest, he had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this day for over 50 years. The primitive species he planned to crush had been watching the galaxy much longer than anyone suspected. Earth looked defenseless because that's exactly what the humans wanted everyone to believe. The trap was set. The alien ships appeared like dark thunderclouds against the stars. 3 massive fleets dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, their hulls gleaming with strange metals and bristling with weapons that could crack planets in half. Admiral Zektar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Wrath, watching the blue world grow larger on his screens. Behind him, 2 other battle fleets took their positions. The combined force contained over 300 warships, each one capable of destroying every human vessel ever built. "Open a communication channel to the human homeworld," Zektar commanded. "All frequencies." The communication officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Zektar stepped forward, his voice cold and absolute. "Humans of Earth, this is Admiral Zektar of the Galactic Hegemony. Your world has been selected for annexation into our empire. You have 1 standard hour to surrender unconditionally. Lay down your weapons and prepare for occupation. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species." The message broadcast across every radio, television, and internet connection on Earth. In the Pentagon, General Morrison listened with grim determination. Around the world, military leaders prepared for what many believed would be humanity's final hour. The response came 30 minutes later from an unexpected source. "Alien Fleet. This is Admiral Patricia Voss of the United Nations Starship Constellation. We have received your ultimatum." On his bridge, Zektar frowned. Intelligence reports mentioned no ship called Constellation. He gestured to his tactical officer. "Display human naval assets." The main screen showed Earth's pathetic fleet, a few dozen ships scattered around the planet and its moon. None of them matched the name Constellation. Admiral Voss's voice continued, calm and steady. "Your demand for surrender is noted and rejected. Earth will defend itself." Zektar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his bridge. "Admiral Voss, you command antiquated vessels with primitive weapons. We have analyzed your capabilities. You cannot hope to match our firepower." "Perhaps," Voss replied, "but we're going to try anyway." A new contact appeared on Zektar's tactical display, a ship emerging from behind Earth's moon. The vessel was larger than any human ship in the intelligence reports, its hull sleek and angular. Strange energy readings emanated from its surface. "So the humans had one surprise," Zektar muttered. "It won't matter." The first battle was a massacre, but not in the way Zektar expected. Human ships engaged his advanced squadrons as they moved toward Earth. The primitive vessels fought with desperate courage, their railguns and missile pods blazing against the alien shields. But courage wasn't enough. Plasma beams sliced through human hulls like knives through paper. Energy shields, deflected every kinetic round the humans fired. In minutes, Earth's conventional fleet was burning wreckage, drifting in space. Admiral Voss watched from the bridge of Constellation as ship after ship died around her. All remaining vessels. Fall back to Earth orbit. Implement defensive pattern Delta. All. Admiral, her tactical officer reported. We've lost 70% of the fleet. The aliens haven't even taken damage. Voss nodded grimly. They're about to learn something important about humans, Lieutenant. We don't give up easily. The alien fleets pressed their advantage, moving closer to Earth. Zektar felt satisfaction as he watched the human resistance crumble. Soon, this world would be his. Admiral, his communications officer said, the human commander is requesting to speak with you directly. Put her through. Let me hear her surrender. Admiral Voss appeared on the main screen. She looked tired but determined, her uniform torn from battle damage to her ship. Admiral Zektar, she said quietly, I want you to know something before this goes any further. Speak quickly, human. My patience grows thin. Voss smiled, and something in that expression made Zektar uneasy. We knew you were coming. We've been watching your scout ships for months. We let you observe exactly what we wanted you to see. Impossible. Our stealth technology is far beyond your capabilities. Is it? Voss asked. Then explain how we detected your ships 3 months ago. Explain how we tracked every movement of your fleet since you entered our solar system. On his tactical display, Zektar saw something that shouldn't have been possible. New contacts were appearing throughout the solar system, hundreds of them. Ships that had somehow remained hidden were powering up, their energy signatures blazing to life like stars being born. What is this? Zektar demanded. Admiral Voss's smile grew wider. This is the part where you realize you made a very big mistake. The hidden ships were nothing like the crude vessels the aliens had destroyed. These were sleek predators, their hulls black as space itself, bristling with weapons that registered as unknown technology on the alien sensors. Admiral, Zektar's tactical officer said, his voice shaking. I'm reading over 400 new contacts. They appear to be advanced warships. How did we miss them? Zektar stared at the display in growing horror. The humans hadn't just hidden a few ships. They had concealed an entire fleet. A fleet that outnumbered his own forces. Admiral Voss's voice cut through his shock. You assumed we were primitive because we let you think we were primitive. You assumed we were weak because we showed you weakness. Your intelligence was perfect, Admiral. It was also completely wrong. Another voice joined the communication. Deeper. Older. Carrying the weight of absolute authority. Admiral Zektar. This is Admiral Marcus Stone of the UNS Retribution. I'm assuming command of this engagement. A new ship appeared on Zektar's screens, emerging from what looked like empty space. It was massive, easily the size of his own flagship, but built with technology that seemed decades ahead of anything in his intelligence reports. You made one critical error in your assessment of humanity, Stone continued, his voice cutting through space like a blade. You assumed we hadn't been preparing for this day. You were wrong. All around the alien fleets, human ships materialized from hiding places throughout the solar system. They had been there all along, waiting in the shadows, watching the aliens approach their trap. Zektar realized with growing terror that he hadn't come to conquer a defenseless world. He had led his fleets into an ambush, carefully planned by an enemy that had been expecting him all along. The hunter had become the hunted. Admiral Zektar watched in disbelief as the human ships revealed themselves across the solar system. What had appeared to be asteroids and space debris now showed their true nature. Warships that had been waiting in perfect silence for this moment. How many? He demanded from his tactical officer. Over 400 confirmed contacts, Admiral. More, appearing every minute. The numbers were impossible. Intelligence had reported fewer than 50 human spacecraft in total. Now, Zektar faced a fleet that matched his own in size, with technology that shouldn't exist. Admiral Marcus Stone's voice filled the communication channel, calm and measured. Admiral Zektar. You're wondering how a primitive species acquired such advanced vessels. On the main screen, the human flagship Retribution moved with grace that defied its massive size. Energy readings from the ship made no sense. The power output was comparable to a hegemony dreadnought, but the energy signatures were completely unknown. The answer, Stone continued, is simple. We've been watching the galaxy for a very long time. We learn quickly. Zektar activated his command frequency. All fleet commanders, maintain defensive positions. Do not engage until we understand their capabilities. But even as he spoke, Zektar knew his situation was deteriorating rapidly. The human ships had appeared in perfect formation around his fleets, cutting off escape routes and establishing overlapping fields of fire. This wasn't random luck. It was masterful, tactical planning. Admiral, his communications officer reported, we're receiving messages from the human ships on quantum entanglement frequencies. Zektar felt ice form in his stomach. That's impossible. Quantum communication requires technology that takes centuries to develop. The signals are definitely quantum-based, sir. They're coordinating movements across the entire solar system in real time. On his tactical display, Zektar watched the human fleet maneuver with precision that shocked him. Each ship moved in perfect coordination with others, thousands of kilometers away. This level of tactical unity required communication faster than light. Technology, the hegemony, had taken 500 years to perfect. Admiral Stone's ship moved closer, its weapons powered, but not yet targeting. Admiral Zektar, I'm going to show you something that should be impossible. The UNS Retribution fired a single shot at a nearby asteroid. The weapon didn't appear on any energy spectrum that Zektar's sensors could detect. Yet the asteroid simply vanished. Not destroyed, vanished, as if it had never existed. Phase cannon, Stone explained casually, fires through dimensional barriers. Your shields are designed to stop energy and matter from this dimension. They won't help you against weapons that bypass three-dimensional space entirely. Zektar's science officer turned pale. Admiral, that technology is theoretical, even for our most advanced researchers. It would require manipulation of quantum foam at the subatomic level. Another human ship demonstrated a different weapon. Energy bolts that curved around a small moon to strike their target from impossible angles. Missiles that teleported past defensive screens. Beam weapons that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. Where did you get this technology? Zektar demanded. Admiral Stone's laugh was cold. You gave it to us, Admiral. Every scout ship, every probe, every survey vessel that visited our solar system over the past 50 years, we studied everything you brought. We reverse-engineered your technology and improved on it. Our ships never landed on your world. Our technology never fell into your hands. Didn't it? Stone asked. 1947. Roswell, New Mexico. A Corthan survey probe crashed in our desert. 1965. A silicate reconnaissance ship malfunctioned in our asteroid belt. We recovered the wreckage. 1978. A Valian scout ship experienced engine failure near our moon. Our people retrieved it before your rescue ships arrived. Zektar checked his fleet records with growing horror. Each incident Stone mentioned was listed in the files, marked as equipment losses due to technical failures. Standard procedure was to write off crashed survey craft rather than risk exposing hegemony operations with large-scale recovery missions. You've been scavenging our technology for decades, he whispered, studying it, learning from it, improving it. Stone's voice carried satisfaction. Did you think we would ignore advanced technology falling into our hands? Humans are very good at taking things apart to see how they work. The tactical display showed human ships taking positions around each of Zektar's fleet groups. They moved like predators surrounding prey, cutting off angles of retreat and establishing kill zones that covered every possible escape route. "Admiral Stone," Zektar said, trying to keep desperation from his voice. "Surely we can reach an agreement. The Galactic Council can discuss terms for your integration into the hegemony." "Integration?" Stone asked. "Admiral, you came here to conquer our world. You brought 3 fleets to destroy anyone who resisted. What exactly makes you think we're interested in joining your empire?" Around the alien fleets, more human ships appeared as stealth systems deactivated. These weren't copies of hegemony technology. They were something new. Something that combined alien science with uniquely human innovation. "Besides," Stone continued, "you're assuming you'll survive this encounter to report back to your council. That assumption may be premature." Zektar realized with growing terror that he was no longer the predator in this situation. His fleets, designed to crush primitive resistance, now faced an enemy that had been preparing for this battle for decades. The humans had used their own overconfidence against them, letting the hegemony see exactly what they wanted them to see while hiding their true strength in the darkness between worlds. "All ships," Zektar commanded, "prepare for battle. Target the nearest human vessels." "Admiral," his weapons officer called. "The humans are powering their weapons systems. Energy readings are off our scales." On the screen, the human ships began to glow with contained power. Their weapons charged with energies that made hegemony plasma cannons look like children's toys. Admiral Stone's final words came through the communication channel like a death sentence. "Admiral Zektar, you made one mistake that's going to cost you everything. You assumed we would fight fair." The solar system erupted into the largest space battle in galactic history. And for the first time in centuries, the hegemony was not winning. The battle exploded across the solar system like a storm of fire and light. Admiral Zektar watched in horror as his carefully planned invasion became a desperate fight for survival. The first exchange of weapons fire shattered his understanding of human capabilities. Hegemony, plasma cannons, designed to punch through any known defense, struck human shields and simply vanished. The energy didn't reflect or disperse. It disappeared as if it had never existed. "Report!" Zektar shouted over the alarms filling his bridge. "Admiral, our plasma weapons have no effect on human shielding. Their defensive systems are operating on principles we don't understand." Meanwhile, human weapons tore through hegemony shields like they weren't there. Phase cannons fired directly through dimensional barriers, striking alien hulls from impossible angles. Gravity manipulation weapons crushed ship armor by altering local space-time. Energy beams that bent around defensive screens to find their targets. The human ship nearest to Zektar's flagship demonstrated something that made his blood turn cold. A weapon that seemed to reach inside enemy ships and detonate their own antimatter storage. The hegemony cruiser Eternal Victory simply vanished in a brilliant flash as its power core turned against itself. "How are they doing this?" Zektar demanded. His science officer's voice shook as he reported, "Admiral, they're manipulating quantum fields around our antimatter containment systems. The technology required would take our empire hundreds of years to develop. But the humans' greatest advantage wasn't their impossible weapons. It was how they fought. Hegemony fleets used standard battle formations perfected over centuries of conquest. Ships moved in predictable patterns, following tactical doctrines that had worked against every previous enemy. The humans ignored every rule of civilized warfare. Human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts, using stealth technology that bent light and gravity around their hulls. They coordinated attacks across impossible distances with quantum communication, striking from multiple directions simultaneously. When hegemony forces moved to engage one group of human ships, they found themselves surrounded by enemies that had somehow predicted their movements. Admiral Stone's voice cut through the chaos of battle. "Admiral Zektar, your forces are fighting like they're still at the academy. Rigid formations, predictable tactics, following the same battle plans your empire has used for centuries. On Zektar's tactical display, human ships moved like a pack of wolves around his fleets. They struck hard and fast, then vanished before his forces could respond. When his ships pursued, they found themselves drawn into carefully prepared kill zones where human vessels waited in ambush. "This is impossible," Zektar muttered. "No species develops such advanced tactics without centuries of warfare." "Who says we didn't have centuries of practice?" Stone replied. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've perfected warfare in ways your peaceful empire never imagined." A human destroyer materialized directly behind one of Zektar's battleships and fired a weapon that seemed to age the alien vessel's hull by decades in seconds. Metal became brittle and cracked, systems failed as components deteriorated rapidly, and the mighty warship broke apart under its own structural stress. "Time distortion field," Stone explained casually. "We accelerate local entropy around your ships. Very effective against enemies who rely on superior technology instead of superior tactics." Zektar watched his forces being systematically destroyed by an enemy that fought without honor or restraint. Human ships used the solar system itself as a weapon, hiding behind planets and asteroids, using gravity wells to slingshot around obstacles at impossible speeds. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "Fleet Group Beta is requesting permission to withdraw. They've lost 60% of their ships." "Denied. All ships will maintain formation and continue the attack." But even as he gave the order, Zektar knew his situation was hopeless. The humans weren't just winning. They were toying with his fleets, like a cat playing with wounded prey. A new horror revealed itself when Earth's moon opened like a flower. What the aliens had assumed was a natural satellite peeled back artificial panels to reveal the largest weapon system Zektar had ever seen. The moon was hollow, filled with technology that made his flagship's armament look like primitive clubs. "Orbital defense platform Luna 1 is online," Admiral Stone announced. "In case you're wondering, we've been building this for 40 years. The moon weapon fired once. A beam of concentrated energy reached across millions of kilometers to vaporize an entire squadron of hegemony ships. The remaining alien forces found themselves caught between the human fleet and a moon that had become a planetary-scale gun. "This is Admiral Corinth of Fleet Group Alpha," came a desperate transmission. "My ships are trapped in the asteroid belt. The humans have turned the entire field into a weapons platform. Request immediate assistance." Zektar looked at his tactical display and felt despair wash over him. Fleet Group Alpha was surrounded by asteroids that weren't asteroids at all, but concealed human weapons. Every piece of space debris in the system seemed to be revealing hidden guns and missile launchers. "How long?" he asked quietly. "How long have you been preparing for this?" Admiral Stone's answer chilled him to the bone. "Since 1947. Admiral. Since the first time we realized we weren't alone in the universe. Every crashed ship, every lost probe, every piece of alien technology that found its way to our world. We studied it all. We learned. We prepared. The human fleet pressed their advantage with ruthless efficiency. Ships that should have taken hours to destroy were eliminated in minutes by weapons that bypassed every known defense. Tactics that had worked for centuries crumbled against an enemy that treated the rules of warfare as suggestions rather than laws. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "we're receiving surrender demands from human vessels throughout the system." "Surrender?" Zektar laughed bitterly. "We are the galactic hegemony. We have never surrendered to anyone." "Then you're about to make history," Admiral Stone replied. "Because surrender is the only option that leaves any of your people alive." Zektar realized with growing horror that the primitive species he had come to conquer had become his executioners. The hunting pack that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was about to become prey. The battle ended not with a final explosion, but with silence. Admiral Zektar stood on the bridge of his crippled flagship, surrounded by the wreckage of 3 entire fleets. Of the 300 ships he had brought to conquer Earth, fewer than 50 remained operational. All hegemony vessels, this is Admiral Marcus Stone. Cease fire and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that attempts to flee will be destroyed. Zektar looked at his tactical display one last time. Human ships surrounded his remaining forces in a perfect sphere, their weapons charged and ready. Escape was impossible. His mighty fleets had been reduced to helpless survivors at the mercy of a species he had dismissed as primitive. Admiral, his communications officer said quietly, Admiral Stone is requesting permission to come aboard. Zektar nodded slowly. Grant it, and order all ships to stand down. The battle is over. 20 minutes later, Admiral Marcus Stone walked onto the bridge of the Dominion's Wrath. He was older than Zektar had expected, with gray hair and scars that spoke of many battles. His uniform was simple, practical, bearing none of the elaborate decorations that marked hegemony officers. Admiral Zektar, Stone said with a slight nod, I'm here to discuss terms. Terms? Zektar laughed bitterly. You've destroyed my fleets. What terms could possibly matter now? Stone gestured toward the main viewing screen, where Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. The terms that will determine whether your surviving crews live to see their home worlds again. For the first time since the battle began, Zektar saw hope. I'm offering to trade them, Stone replied. Your crews for information. Everything you know about hegemony, military capabilities, fleet deployments, and political structure. Zektar stared at the human admiral. You're planning to attack the core worlds. I'm planning to ensure that no world ever faces what you planned for Earth. Whether that requires attack, or simply the threat of attack, remains to be seen. Stone activated a portable holographic projector. Images appeared in the air between them. Star maps showing the entire galaxy, with trade routes and military positions marked in detail. Admiral Zektar, let me explain something about humans that your intelligence reports missed. We don't just defend our own territory. When we decide something is wrong, we fix it. And an empire that conquers peaceful worlds is something we consider very wrong indeed. The star map zoomed in on specific systems. These are the locations of human colonies, established over the past 30 years. We've been spreading quietly throughout the galaxy, while you thought we were confined to Earth. Zektar felt shock wash over him. The red dots marking human settlements appeared on dozens of worlds, many of them in sectors the hegemony considered secure. How? He whispered. Sleeper ships, Stone explained. Launched decades ago using technology we developed from your crashed probes. While your empire was busy conquering obvious targets, we were establishing hidden bases in systems you didn't even know we could reach. More images appeared. Construction yards hidden in asteroid belts. Mining operations on dead worlds. Research facilities in empty space between star systems. We've been building fleets, Admiral. Hundreds of ships using technology decades ahead of anything in your archives. The force you face today was just our home defense fleet. It's not even our largest. Stone paused to let that information sink in. The Galactic Council thought Earth was defenseless. Because we wanted them to think that. We've been preparing for this war since we first learned the galaxy was full of empires that take what they want from weaker species. A new image appeared. A massive space station orbiting a distant star. Shipyard Omega-7, currently building our next generation of dreadnoughts. Each one is capable of destroying an entire hegemony battle group. Zektar realized he was looking at the future of galactic warfare. The primitive species he had come to conquer wasn't just defending itself. It was preparing to reshape the balance of power throughout the galaxy. What do you want from me? Zektar asked. Complete intelligence on hegemony operations. Fleet positions, defense plans, political leadership, everything. In exchange, your surviving crews will be returned to neutral space with their ships. And if I refuse? Stone's expression hardened. Then your crews become permanent guests, while we gather the information ourselves from hegemony worlds. Your choice, Admiral. Zektar thought of the thousands of beings under his command, soldiers who had followed orders and now faced death or imprisonment because their leaders had underestimated humanity. I'll need access to our databases, he said finally. Of course. My technical teams are already transferring your computer cores. Hours later, as the last of the intelligence data transferred to human systems, Stone stood with Zektar on the observation deck of the Retribution. Through the transparent aluminum windows, they watched human ships escort the remaining hegemony vessels toward the edge of the solar system. Admiral, Zektar said quietly, what happens now? Stone was silent for a long moment. Now we send a message to the Galactic Council. Earth is claiming its place among the stars, not as subjects, but as equals. The age of unopposed conquest is ending. They won't accept it. The Council has ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years. Then they'll learn what Earth learned when we discovered we weren't alone, Stone replied. Adapt or become extinct. As the alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying word of humanity's victory back to the core worlds, Stone turned to address his crew. Set course for Shipyard Omega-7. Signal all construction facilities to accelerate production schedules. And send a message to every human colony in the galaxy. The liberation of oppressed worlds begins now. In the depths of space, hidden construction yards that had labored in secret for decades began producing warships at an unprecedented rate. Humanity had revealed its hand, and now it would reshape the galaxy according to its own vision of justice. The species that had thought Earth was defenseless had learned too late that humans were never defenseless. They had simply been waiting for the right moment to show their true strength. The galaxy would never be the same.